Welcome. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Black Male Podcast. This is a place where we delve deep into the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of black men in today's society. I'm your host, Mike Sears, and each and every week we'll bring you inspiring stories, insightful discussions, and actionable advice tailored specifically for black men looking to navigate and excel in all facets of life. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's episode of the Black Male Podcast. Listen, as black males, you've seen us at our worst. We have been on display in front of the whole world. I hope that this platform will also allow you to see, or allow the world to see, black men at their best. Today in Mike's monologue, I want to read something about mental health. Your mental health. Protect the you that's inside of you. You may not be a professional football player. Again, this is an excerpt out of my book where I use football, the game of football, to highlight life lessons. So, as it reads, you may not be a professional football player, but if you or someone you know are experiencing some mental health challenges, you can get help. There are resources available to help you, and you do not have to suffer in silence or alone. On the outside, it may appear as if you have everything together, but that only accounts for your physical appearance. That is the you that most people see, but there's a you that most people rarely see. It is the you that is not revealed often to others. Here's some general information to point you in the right direction if you need help or if you need to help someone else. What are mental health services? We're going to talk about that a little bit today. A mental health service is one of a group of government, professional, or lay organizations operating at a community, state, national, or international level to aid in preventing and treating mental disorders. Why mental health? Why mental health today? Well, to this month, the month of May, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you did not know, mental health awareness is about increasing the understanding and reducing the stigma around mental health issues. It involves educating people on mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia, among others, to promote empathy and support for those affected. Awareness efforts aim to highlight the importance of mental well-being, encourage those struggling to seek help, and provide information on available resources. These initiatives can take any forms, including public campaigns, educational programs in schools and workplaces, and social media outreach. The ultimate goal is to create a society where mental health is valued just as much as physical health, and where everyone has access to the care that they need. So, with that in mind, I have a repeat guest. He's our first repeat guest, and we brought him back because he is an expert in the area of mental health. He professionally provides mental health services, and without any further ado, I just want to bring him on. Let's welcome Mr. Kelvin Ray. I like to call him Doctor.
What's up, Mike?
What's going on, sir?
Glad to be the first repeat.
Yeah, I appreciate having you back. We want to talk about a few things, but what I didn't get a chance to do last time you were here was dig a little bit deeper into your book, Mind Your Business, which is also available on Amazon by Kelvin Ray Martin. It's called Mind Your Business. Can you share two things? One, can you share again in the different aspect about your mental health journey and what led you to advocate for mental health awareness, specifically within the Black community, and then after you answer that question, let's talk a little bit more about the book specifically.
Okay. Well, the journey didn't start. I guess it kind of like fell in my lap, so to speak. Within a 2-week time frame, it's been a few years now. 3 people that I know and directly died by suicide within a 2-week time span. It kind of freaked me out. And being a pastor at the time, being in ministry, people come to you looking for the answer.
Yes.
They're mad at God, and they're wanting you to give them solace to their anger.
Sure.
But one of the parents of the young man, she said, I want you to eulogize my son, but you cannot talk about God.
Wow.
You cannot share any spiritual nuggets. I just want you to love on my son.
Wow.
And it challenged me because, you're a preacher. You can't talk about God.
Right.
And then I went and searched the scriptures for about suicide, and there's 7 suicides in the Bible. But I wanted to figure out, like, what was it? And literally in prayer, I was like, who knows that conversation a person has right before they die?
Right.
And that's what started my journey. And so that's when I wrote the play, Listen to the Silence. And it went from there to film and then ultimately the book. So I was kind of forced into it. But even looking back on my life, moving from all the things I've been involved in, and then even suicidal ideations that I've had myself, or dealing with some things personally that you keep to yourself. And being a black male, you're taught more of silencing than speaking.
Yeah, definitely.
And that haunts you over time because you build this wall up that you can't talk.
Yeah.
And then running into other individuals. And then the thing that hurt me the worst in this whole journey was going to churches and saying, hey, y'all, what do we do about suicide?
Yeah.
And they literally confirmed what I was saying. They said, we don't talk about it.
Wow.
And so when you get to a church and there's things that's off the table,
then
that means you take Jesus off the table.
Yeah.
And so if he's on the table, let's put it all on the table. And I mean, you got people nowadays that's even, I know I'm jumping, but that are dealing with some serious mental anguish or some serious traumas.
Yeah.
And I'm a living witness. Prayer is great.
Yes.
But they need a little bit more.
Yeah. There has to be information, revelation, some conversation.
It's gotta be
around what's going on because the spiritual part of our being is a part of. It's a part of our being, but it's not the only part.
Right.
And we can't, just like we spend most of our time, I think, unconsciously in the physical aspects of who we are, the aspects of who we are. You know, we're into how we look and how we appear,
right?
You know, whether it's on social media or just how we show up every day, and we don't, and sometimes we mask what's really going on the inside because we don't want to appear to be going through anything or weak or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so we spend, whether it's a lot of time in the makeup room, whether it's a lot of time in the barber chair or the beauty salon, or a lot of time in the gym, we're constantly working on this outward appearance.
Yeah.
And it's not that all the time, which is the problem. If we're talking about problems, but it's the part of us that people don't see, that spiritual part as well as the mental.
Right. And I was just going to add to that, which is it's all right to look good. You should look good.
Absolutely.
But some people have masked themselves so much they don't even know what they really look like. And so I run into people all the time. And I said, have you ever introduced yourself to your real self?
Wow.
Because we look in the mirror and we see what we want to see.
Yeah.
But do you really see your nakedness? Do you really see your vulnerability? And that's when people turn away from what they see and they deny that part of themselves and they begin to mask what they don't want to see.
And it's important. I think it's even important to get to know that, to get to know yourself. You have to spend some time with yourself by yourself. Absolutely. We grow up, obviously, even as, in our adolescence, as kids, we want friends. You know, we're vying for relationships. We want to be and feel accepted. Nothing wrong with that at all. But what I find a lot of times is that we search so much for the acceptance from another person or another organization or whatever it is, and we don't accept ourselves.
That's
like you said. We don't know who we are.
Right.
And I just sharing something real personal, and I'll get back to the next question I want to ask you. But even in relationships, sometimes you'll find yourself jumping from one relationship to the next relationship because you feel like you have to be with someone.
Right.
And the reality is, when you're with someone, you spend the majority of that time with that person trying to please that person.
Yeah.
Most times when you introduce yourself to that person, you don't introduce yourself. You introduce a representative of who you really are.
Right.
And so throughout that relationship, throughout the process, not only are you seeking to please someone else, you don't even know who you are in the situation. Yeah. So, and what I mean by that is, I found myself not really doing the things that I like to do.
Right.
Because I'm always trying to do what you like.
Right.
It's like, what do I like to eat?
Right.
Where do I like to go? And what I found myself doing before I got married is taking some time and spending some time with myself. Yeah. So I knew, man, I really like football. Yeah. I like these types of movies. I like to eat these types of things. Now that does not mean, because that's a whole nother conversation for another day. When you do get in a relationship, there is this process of becoming one with that person, which means there are some things that you're used to doing as an individual by yourself that you have to find a way to now do it with another person.
Right.
And so the two become one. However, you can't become one with someone else if you haven't first become one
with yourself. Right.
And people don't understand that process.
Right.
And it's extremely important. And mentally being one with yourself and understanding your limitations.
Absolutely.
You may have anxiety. You may have, you may find certain things are triggers that can cause you to be depressed or feel this way or that way, and not feeling like you have to go through those things alone. And you said something, and I said I was going to move on right after this.
This your show.
Yeah, it is kind of. But in the Black community, the whole, be seen but not heard, and there's a generation, I think this generation is a little bit different, but the generation before this, there was a lot of you don't talk, you don't get to talk. You do what I say, you don't ask questions, and I get the discipline in that, but in doing that, as you get older, you kind of still live with this ideal of, instead of speaking and saying and getting help, I just got to figure it out.
Right.
Or I have feelings and I'll just deal with them, not knowing that some of that suppression can cause anxiety or cause depression or cause some type of mental anguish. So
no, I mean, all that's right on. And I think a lot of times, especially how we parent or have relations with each other, or just in general communication with each other, we've taken that slave mentality and we're still on the boat. Bringing it to another generation. And so a lot of times we haven't become one with ourselves, like you said, then we fail to find out who we really are. So you go into a relationship broken, and then you want the relationship to fix you. And then so two broken people are just two broken people. You just broke. And so people don't understand, if I'm broke, I'm no good for you. And even in the journey of doing all of this, I've discovered that most people never took time to delve into their own lives. You're so busy trying to please other people. You're so busy trying to get the likes. You're so busy trying to be popular. You're so busy trying to get the approval of your parents that you fail to find out what it is that makes you unique. And so you find many people that are just broken, and then you go, wow, you've been broken for a while. And
you don't, and it's sad. I won't say, maybe sad is not the right term, but it's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
When you're broken and you don't even know.
Yes.
You don't realize it. And so you go through life broken and bruised, and you may feel like the things that's happening to you, there's no way out of it, or this is just who I am, or this is just my life, and you don't realize that there is a way.
There's a way,
and a lot of it changing the way your outcome is changing your mindset, changing how you think.
Absolutely.
And so, in talking about that, mind your business. Something you said on the last show that we was on, it struck a nerve in me, and it actually helped me to try to. I'm working on something that's kind of repositioning what I'm presenting in the book form.
Okay.
So I wrote a book,
right,
and I feel like it's a textbook in a sense, but I'm a teacher, so I get that.
Right.
And it's, even though it's a self-help book, it's something that, you gotta kind of read through it to get the lessons.
Right.
And you talked about how when you first were giving the unction to start writing, you had like 500 some page, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
And, you were giving the commission to scale it down. And you realize people just need a pamphlet. They need something they can get to quick. So when we're talking about not having to live with yourself as yourself the way that you've always been, but to know that there's a way out, this manual kind of helps that. Can you speak to that? I was going through it, and just speak to if I'm dealing with some mental anguish, maybe I know it, I've identified it, and I need the help, or I haven't really identified. How can this book kind of help you identify?
So the book is similar to that. It's a guide, 6 steps to unzip your mind and just become free mentally. And so when I wrote it, I didn't even have 6 steps. I just had a whole lot of teaching on how to free your mind. Right. But then when it got scaled down, and it's interesting you mentioned that, I'm actually working on a pamphlet now. Like a tracts or something that's even more accessible for people for immediate, because I'm hearing more immediate needs. So they don't even have time to read a whole short book. And so but in the book it just highlights those 6 things. But even before you get to the steps, I give an assessment so people can literally check off some things that may be affecting them. Your diet, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you think, the way you maneuver throughout the day, your thoughts. The average person, we have about 60 to 75,000 thoughts per day.
Wow.
45,000 of those are negative. And so if you think of that and you bring that to the table, then you have to really get to know yourself and say, hey, where's my basis for my thought process? Because it's stemming from something, some unresolved issues, some traumas. There's something deep embedded that you have to be willing to let go of, that you got to be willing to talk about, or you'll never heal. It's like that sword that if you keep it covered, it ain't gonna never heal. You need some air. Like Ron said, let the air get it. And so
I told the youngest that just recently. He's like, I need another Band-Aid. No, that won't need some air. It
needs some air. Initially, the Band-Aid's good initially, because it's tender. But then it comes to a point where it sets up, and you don't want it to scar. You don't want it to set up. Get infected. And so you got to give it some air. And so there's some elements to development that a person has to. And the steps in there are just very, very, very simple steps. I call them the 6 R's. I never go over them because I tell people to go buy the book. So but there's 6 R's. And so there's some other stuff that I'm working on a book now called Triggers and Trauma, because people just don't know how to let go of them things. But there's, and as I told you before in the last podcast we did, the average kid by the age of 12 has experienced 3 traumas.
Wow.
Back we were so sheltered. I mean, I call it sheltered now, that our parents didn't allow us to. The TV, something bad comes on, turn the TV off. You can't see that. But now kids see it, and they're so immune to it. I was talking to a young man the other day. I said, "Hey man, you okay? Your grandma just died." He said, "Okay." I said, "That was your grandma." He said, "Okay." But
and
I'm good.
and part of that is we kind of mask the trauma with our strength. And it is. And it takes a certain level of of strength and stick-to-itiveness and being able to overcome situations that we as a community, and I'm talking about black folks, you know, we press through some stuff, and we have to be the way we have to be to get through the stuff.
Right.
But what we don't realize is that on the other side of the stuff, once we done got through it, some of the lingering, we still haven't dealt with the trouble or the trauma of it.
You said it perfectly. When you don't even get through it. You just walk around some stuff. There's some things you just walk around and you avoid. I mean, if you're abused and you become abusive, it doesn't make you a bad parent. It just makes you a parent who hasn't learned how to deal with their abuse. And so we've got to learn to take accountability, and that's one of the things it talks about in the book. You've got to take accountability of you. I don't care how bad your parents were. I don't care where you were raised. I don't care what you dealt with. Those are your cards. And so you've got to be able to play the game and play the cards the way they've been dealt to you in the best way possible, because somebody's watching you. You still owe it to somebody else along the way, whether you know it or not, to feed them some wisdom, some knowledge, some education that's going to benefit their lives, whether it's your own kids, godchildren, whatever, nieces, nephews, maybe it's a boy down the street. Somebody's watching you, and they're watching how you get through, and that's going to determine how they get through as well.
You know, no man is an island unto himself. I like it, and we're all benefactors of each other. Like, I can gain strength from you, I can gain encouragement, but I can also, you know, gain whatever negative energy or whatever, you know, bad habits that you have. Simply by watching you. We don't have to have communication. We have to, but if I keep seeing bad habits, I start to form them.
Absolutely.
But it works the same way where I heard somebody talk about the ability to, if your parent was a carpenter, or if your parent was a doctor, lawyer, the chances of you becoming or following those footsteps was greater, because that's what you see, that lifestyle. If your parent was a hustler, or they did this, or they did whatever it is you see growing up, the reason why cycles continue and they, you know, things continue to happen again and again, and they passed on from generation, because we're benefactors of what we see and what we hear, and we don't realize how those things are affecting our mind. And I like how you put this together, the whole mind your business, a play on words. You know, your mind is your business, and you have to spend some time with yourself, but also the 6 steps to unzip your mind. And literally the picture, I think there has to be an emptying of sorts, because there's a lot of things that goes in our psyche, our mind, our memory, and it's stored there, but it's not supposed to. Like, it's some things that's there that's not supposed to stay. Like, and not comparing your mind to a trash can, but sometimes there's some things that you're supposed to dispose of, and you know how garbage, if it sits for too long, it starts to smell. It gets, you know, it attracts other unwanted things, whether it's critters, whether it's the garbage itself transforming into something that's even more toxic. And we never think about the things that go into our mind in the same way, but it can operate the same way. You put trash in your mind and you just allow it to sit and settle, you know, and you wonder why there's those toxic things are being exposed or happening in your life. It's because a lot of it is because that central processing unit called our brain it has these things that we put in it. So we have to be extremely careful on the things that we listen to, the people we hang around. Because ultimately it affects our mind, and whatever the things that we've dealt with as children, we need to be cognizant of it. Going to therapy, it's important. Talking to a professional, something that we don't do again. Talking to a therapist.
Please say that one more time.
Please talk to a therapist. And here's the thing around it. People feel or can feel, especially black males, intimidated by sharing your business, so to speak, with a stranger. First of all, understand that a therapist is a trained professional. And just like anything, doctors, restaurants, you find one that works for you. Like you don't necessarily, just because they have the title therapist, this person don't work, or I don't like the way. Well, you find somebody that does work. But the ideal around it is having a professional to help you work through things in a methodical way, in a way that's professional, in a way that's outside of anything that you would necessarily do on your own. It's important.
And I'm probably about to get in trouble for this statement.
Okay.
But being a pastor doesn't make you qualified to be a mental health professional.
It does not.
And I say that have pastored and being in ministry, but a lot of times we put some undeserving weight on preachers, and then they're not trained.
Correct.
And so even in the book, I wanted to marry practical with spiritual. I, as you talk to people, sometimes Jesus ain't the first thing they need to hear.
Yeah.
Because that's not where they are.
Right.
So sometimes you have to meet people where they are. And sometimes we may not get to Jesus to session 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We may not get to him at all.
Right.
But my job is not to beat you with Christ, but it's just to be an example of Christ, and even use Christ-like examples that doesn't push people into a dimension that they may not be ready for.
And that's important, because we just talked about people become what they see, what you put in their mind.
Absolutely.
It's a seed. It can either be something that prospers and it grows and is healthy, or it can be something that's unhealthy. And preaching Christ or giving people spiritual, helping their spiritual growth and development, a lot of times it starts with not so much what you say, but what you do. If you're not, be the example. Be the Christ that you want this person to admire or like or be drawn to, because if you're not a likable person, how they gonna like the Christ that you talking about?
Because when we were growing up, it was like, if something's going on in your life, you need the Lord. You better get to church and get yourself together. And a lot of times, it's not that simple. Especially if you're dealing with some stuff. And I always tell people, wherever you are, come to church when you want to. I mean, it's not forced on you. But get a relationship with yourself, and then dig deeper inside. There's a part in the book that I wrote one night. I was in the process of writing, and I literally felt like this zipper. That's why the zipper is on the cover. That my brain was unzipped, and I felt fingers going through my brain, and stuff was coming out. Stuff was being refiled. Stuff that I forgot about. I'm like, oh wow, that's in there. And things were just being reassigned, reshuffled, redirected. Some things were being deleted, and so it was like now and then. And I said, God, why is it a zipper? He said, because I'm giving you access to yourself. So don't wait on me to do it. What I'm giving you access to do. Christ came and he did it all. So now you have that same access. So whenever you get the urge, unzip, pull out, redirect, change some things around, and then you kind of take control of your narrative. And then so you don't let the trauma or the mishap or the inconveniences or life life it. And so you just stay ahead of the game, and then you begin to kind of take the bull by the horn, and you guide your own ship.
I like that, and that's important. And for everybody that's listening, I need you to listen to this. We are not in any way, this is a disclaimer, bashing the church.
Oh, not at all.
We are both believers, and the gospel in the church is something that we uphold. So don't think that we're saying, we're anti-preacher or anti-church or anti any of that. But we want to be also practical in our demonstration and in our teaching and in our conversation, just to say that we understand, where people are at and why people behave and why people feel the way that they do when it comes to the man of God or the woman of God in the church as it pertains. Again, that's not the conversation, but as we're talking about mental health, we know that sometimes people will go to the church and they're seeking assistance. They're seeking comfort,
which is a great avenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I want to challenge every church. I want to challenge every pastor, every believer, every religious organization. You need a hub. You need somewhere that if someone comes to the altar, they may need a little bit additional support. So there needs to be something in the church that you can guide them, give them some phone number. There needs to be some communication past that 2-minute altar call. And so you've just got to be wise to build a community, and so it don't always just happen right there.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I've learned that working in education. I know when I started in education, you walk in with these lofty ideals about how you want to change this young child's mind, because you was that child at some point, and you got all these grandiose ideals, and how you going to be different than those that taught before you, those that taught you. And you walk into the classroom, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so to speak, and the kids don't want what you giving them.
Right.
They don't. And you said something earlier when you were talking about, mental health and deliverance, and sometimes people are not in the place where you think they should be or where you want them to be, when in fact, you may have the answers or the answer, but a person has to be willing and ready to receive.
Yep.
So sometimes all you can do is be the best you can be.
Yep.
Be concerned, be loving, be caring, and you show that. And sometimes, I found out in the classroom, sometimes that might be all you teaching today.
Yeah.
Like you had a lesson, but I'm teaching you what love looks like.
Yeah.
I'm teaching you what concern looks like. I'm teaching you what listening looks like. And when people know how much you care, then they'll be a little more attentive to what you know.
Yeah. I had when I was in the classroom, this little boy would go up to this girl every day and whisper in her ear, "You my B." And finally, she went to another teacher and said, "Hey, he keeps calling me a B." And so, of course, he gets called down to the office. And did you say? He said, "Yeah." I said, and they said, that's not good." He said, "My daddy tell my mama that every day."
Wow.
And my daddy said he loved my mama, so I like her.
Yeah.
So I said it was a teachable moment.
Yeah.
But in education, he got kicked out, and there was no dialogue about it.
Right.
But he's just doing what he's learned.
Yeah.
And so I think we have prime examples going on daily that we have access to teachable moments that we can really do some things, especially as men.
Yes.
And I just think we need to take a step up as men and allow our vulnerability to be a healing place. Even if it means being part of a men's group, or being part of a men's club, or being part of something that promotes masculinity but vulnerability at the same time, because you can't heal if everybody's tough in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And the transparency,
gotta be.
People are attracted to people being their genuine selves. And people know. People know real, especially young people. They know real, they know fake. And as men, like you said, it's important to be transparent and to provide platforms where people, men especially, can truly be themselves, because it's hard. And we live in a society where you have to mask up. You got to toughen up. You have to be, somewhat boisterous at sometimes.
Right.
You have to appear to have it all together, and if you don't, you're considered weak. If you don't, you're considered unprepared. You can be called lazy. You can be called all kinds of things that may or may not be true. And so you try to appear to be at times something that you're not. And, we have to be able to, have platforms, have places where we're able to get the right information,
Right.
that will help us become who and what it is that God intended us to be and to become, without judgment, so we can grow. And again, that can be a mental block. You like the young man, he just doing what he heard.
Yeah.
And in his mind, it was nothing wrong with it. And to a certain degree or level, there was nothing wrong with it. Like he did, and what I mean by that, don't take what I'm saying wrong. He didn't have an ill intent.
Right. He actually had a care, a discernment of affection.
Yeah.
Which is we promote.
Right.
But if he doesn't know the discernment of it, and the crazy thing about it is, his dad didn't even know that he was emulating him.
Yeah.
So this is the crazy part. Dad chastised him. You don't do. But he's doing what you do.
Yeah.
So it was that teachable moment that we just let go out of the window, and it's like, hey y'all, hey, and I was always the one that let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Now we got to move on. But some stuff you can't move on. You've got to definitely talk about. Just a side note. One of the other things I've started doing. I was approached by this in the sports arena.
Okay.
There are so many young people that are sold dreams on you're gonna make it.
Yeah.
You're gonna go all the way. Your career's gonna go, but they end up with an injury.
Yes.
That sidelines this dream.
Yes.
They ain't got no other dreams, and their parents are now mad at them, or mad at the injury, which comes off at them, and then nobody knows how to pivot.
Yeah.
So I've been asked to work with some sports medicine companies to help them with the athletes or the athletes that are sidelined.
Wow.
And then their parents. I always ask, can we do their parents too?
Yeah.
Because, we'll live on somebody else's dream in a minute.
Yeah.
And then we're upset when that dream is sidelined for whatever reason it is. And so I always tell parents, I say, please have your own dream, but allow your kids to dream bigger than you do.
It's important. It's important. Man, and we got to talk some more. We got to talk some more. What I want to do, I just want to take a brief break and let's acknowledge today's sponsor. Today's show is sponsored by Mike Sears Productions. Welcome to Mike Sears Productions, where every event is a masterpiece waiting to happen, specializing in project management for live and theater productions. We provide comprehensive support that covers all your technical needs, from lighting and sound to video and set design. Our team ensures every aspect of your production is perfect. Need advanced AV support? We got you covered. With Mike Sears Productions, your vision is our mission. Visit us at MikeSearsProductions.com or on the IG page at Mike Sears Productions, or call us at 313-422-3347 to learn more about our services and how we can make your next event unforgettable. Don't put on a show without making it spectacular with Mike Sears Productions. Please, also, I want to invite, if you have an event, if you have a business, if you have something that you just want to promote on the show, hit us up. We have our current email address is theblackmailpodcast@gmail.com. Send in a request. You can also go to the IG page, the Black Male Podcast, and you can inbox what it is you have coming up, and if it fits within this format, I could definitely send you some information, and we would love to help you promote what it is you're doing, and it will be a great help to the show as well, so we can keep bringing you great content. So, man, I knew I had to bring you back because there was so much that we didn't get to talk about the last time, and by this being Mental Health Month, or Mental Health Awareness Month, is there anything particular that you're doing? Well, let me back up. You talked about, before we had the brief break, about you were being involved in the sports arena, and there are so many kids that have these dreams of succeeding in the arena of sports, and when they can't, there's a disappointment that's there, and a mental block, if you would, and if that's the only thing that you've ever wanted to do or know how to do,
right?
How do you pivot? There's even adults, obviously,
of course,
that's the same situation. Their dreams are cut short because of an injury, and this is all that they've ever done, and they don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
How did that come about? And what do, aside from what you already said, what do you say to that young person, to that parent, to help them pivot?
And the injury is not. I related it specifically because I was asked to do it for sports, but even in coaching or doing therapy sessions, it's not. The injury can be from a number of things. One of my clients right now is a young lady. She has 3 kids, all by 3 different baby daddies. But that's not. She calls that her crutch.
Okay.
I call that her blessing.
Okay.
But I keep telling her she's got to change the narrative because she really desires to be married.
Okay.
So I said, well, you have to pivot your mindset from being a baby mama to being a wife.
Yeah.
And so that has been the journey of what that looks like, because I believe wholeheartedly before you become a wife, you have to be a wife.
Yeah.
Or before you become a basketball player, you have to be a basketball player. So it's mentally. 98% of what you do is mental. And so you got to
you got to say that again.
98% of what you do is mental. And so whatever you want to do in life, you've got to pivot. And so I always tell people, especially young people that I talk to, I go into a group and I'm like, how many go and play basketball? And you see all these hands go up. And I say, if that's the only thing you cannot do, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Hands come down because they haven't thought that far.
Yeah.
And so I try to tell young people, adults, take your mind to places you've never been before and allow yourself to explore the unthinkable.
Yeah.
Dreams that are your dreams.
Yes.
Allow your mind to explore things, and that's why I always advise reading. We had encyclopedias.
My wife talk about that all the time. Yeah.
But you have to explore. I always take my godchildren, my nieces, nephews. I try to take them places so they can see something other than just what's in front of them.
We have to intentionally expose young people to things that will help them establish a mindset that gives them options and choices.
Yes.
And as parents, it's a parents, adults, period, it's a huge responsibility, but it's necessary, because if they're not exposed to the right things, then the wrong things will take them down the path that
Absolutely.
It's a point of no return.
Absolutely.
Again, if we had to be exposed to certain things, and I know I wasn't exposed to everything, and if college didn't do, and I know college is not the pathway for every individual listening, or every individual that you have a child and they're nearing that age and they don't have any aspirations. Right. College is not necessarily the pathway for every person, but let me tell you what it did for me. It exposed me to things that I had not been exposed to prior, based upon the environment that I lived in, and I would not have been exposed to had I not gone to college.
Yeah.
And it's some of the exposure, which can seem somewhat odd, were things that existed in my before environment that I didn't realize existed until I got outside of the environment and I experienced it in a different environment, and then it was like, oh yeah, that you got that at home too, and it's like what that's it's again, it's exposure. Sometimes we don't realize who we are or what we have until we've been introduced to things outside of what we already know and what we've already experienced.
But even in that exposure, you had good and bad.
Absolutely.
And so that exposure helps you to deduce the things that don't work and the things that do work.
Yes.
Because there's some friendships you forge in school that were good.
Yeah.
Some that were horrible.
Yeah.
There's some dates you've gone on that were great dates. There's some that were horrible. But if you don't have the experience, then you don't have an opportunity to deduce that. And so when it goes back to your question about the injuries, so I literally tell people the injury doesn't make you. It doesn't define you.
Right.
It can stop you if you allow it.
Right.
Because you weren't just put here for one dream. You
Right.
weren't put here for just one aspect. So there's very many, and a lot of times one door closes and another one opens just so you can be exposed to something even greater.
And I'll add this, and this is just you know eat the meat, throw away the bone. But I believe what we don't
Grandma said you got sucked the bone too.
she from the South.
She from the South. Don't play with the bone.
All right, don't play with it. You already know.
You already know.
Don't throw that away.
Don't throw that away. It's just meat on that bone. Okay, I'm sorry.
No. It's important to when you're realizing your dreams and your self-worth and your purpose. It's important to not be selfish, and to understand that your gift and your ability, your talent, is ultimately not for you. And if all you're thinking about is what you gain from being gifted and being talented and having this, ability to do certain things, then you're treading down the wrong path. Also, it took me a long time to realize, my gift not for me.
Exactly.
It's that literally whatever it is that I'm good at, and I'm telling you the same thing. Whatever it is that you feel like is your ability, is your talent, it's not for you. And sometimes we suffer in life being something or doing something where we're underutilizing or not utilizing our talent or gift at all, and we're not, and people don't get the benefit. People don't get to enjoy. Their lives are not made better because you chose not to give the gift that was given to you away, because it's not for you.
And I've discovered that a lot of times, even in sports or things, when people really find out who they are, they find out they've been living someone else's dreams. Because there are so many young people that say, my mama said I'm gonna be this, and my mama said, my daddy said, or it's like, is that what you want to do? And so sometimes the injury exposes them to other degrees. There's this young man in particular, I can see his face now. He got injured. He's a basketball player, height, all that. You look at him and we do the typical, you play basketball. But he got injured, so he couldn't play. IQ out the yin yang. But the crazy thing about it is he's a computer whiz. And he now has got last year he got, I think, almost like $100,000 worth of scholarships to do computer programming. And the only reason he discovered that is because he was only playing basketball all the time. He never sat down to do what he wanted to do. And then when he got injured, he got on the computer and he started doing programming and stuff. And that mind is so tender. And so, and he went brilliant mind. And so, and I told his parents, I said, hey, this is a blessing in disguise. Don't throw away the bathwater with the baby in it. So allow the dream to manifest. And so it's just whatever your injury is, whatever your situation is, whatever you've been through, turn that into lemonade. Just make it sweet for you and decide what it is about you that can grow and be the best you can, because you got to make the best of your life.
And the reality is, even those athletes that are successful or they're afforded the opportunity to play professionally, the lifespan of professional players is not but so many, the average lifespan.
And if you look at the average player, once they stop playing, where are they now? What are they doing now? And so their limelight is gone. And so many of them, their money's gone. They didn't have anger management. They don't know. And so so you got to look past the now and look what's greater than where you are right now.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we talked about a few different things as it pertains to mental health, black men, the black community, our society, in terms of overcoming the barriers for mental health services for black men. In your opinion, what are some strategies? So we talked about the stigma of men not wanting to go to therapy, or the community, our black community at all, at large, just not wanting to take some necessary steps to get professional help. Do you have any suggestions, or in your opinion, do you have any strategies to help individuals that may be on the fence and like, I'm not doing that, to help them to overcome that and take that next step and actually, I'm gonna make that point.
Right. I black men are hard, man. We hard. We make it even harder, man. I have some. That's why I always advise the church, fraternities, sororities. I mean, just always say, hey, y'all need to do an event just for men.
Yeah.
And allow men to be vulnerable, and then take the women's perspective out of it. No offense, but take that perspective out of it. But even the men groups at church, don't just do the men's choir. The men's choir. I mean,
that's seriously, cool fellowship.
Seriously, talk about some conversations, some healing dialogue, some things that will really bless the masses. But I think there's a lot of agencies around here that need to have more men-directed events. Men aren't just they're not just gonna say, hey, sign me up. It's got to be something led for them to sign up, even if it's at a sporting event. Afterwards, let's do a rap. Men will talk if they're comfortable, but they're not going to start it. They're not going to initiate it. They're not going to be the first to the table to have a conversation. But once they start talking, they will open up. So
Kel, man, you have to be a regular, because you can only get so much conversation, and I think this has to be an ongoing conversation. Absolutely. I think not just a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but I think a male mind, I think a black male mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I'm not, I'm being very strategic, and I'm also being very purposeful. I care about all people, all races, all colors, but that black mind, because we're losing so many minds they're being filled with so many toxic things, and it doesn't end well. But that doesn't have to be the case. There's an opportunity that no matter who you are, where you are, you have, as you described, access to your own thoughts, your own way of thinking, and you can operate it like a zipper. You have to be able to take the time to unzip what's in there, and sometimes just do a dump. And it also requires you to find people like Kelvin Ray, somebody positive. When I say positive, I think you know the difference between positive and negative. Somebody that can help you unzip appropriately and fill you with the right things that you need to have mental health and not mental illness, to have mental growth. And not disparity.
And pain hurts. Nobody wants to go through pain. But pain also heals. And so if you don't allow your pain to be exposed, you will never heal. And there's a scripture, I know we not on the anyway. So man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the thing about that scripture is you think in your mind, but it affects your heart. And so whatever you're thinking, it manifests, and then it lands right in your heart. That's why it says the heart is deceptive. So you just got to be in a position where you can just unzip, clean out, and just be the best example of yourself.
Man, we got to get ready to get out of here. But I want to. You coming back?
I'm coming back.
So I'm calling you, and just know you coming back.
I'm coming back.
But just I like to do the fun facts. And so I'm just going to ask you one question instead of going through a long laundry list.
I don't get the list. I get one.
Yeah, just give you one.
Like I'm on Jeopardy.
I don't think I asked you this before. If you could bring back any fashion trend from the past, what would it be?
Bell bottoms.
Man, listen, like I said,
they hide your shoe game.
Bell bottoms, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it is. Listen, tell people where they can find you.
I'm on all social media platforms. The Calvin Ray on Facebook. Phone number is 248-686-4338. Website coming soon, so you know how to hit me up.
And you are a professional.
Yeah, I'm a board certified master mental health coach. I'm a life coach, and
that's important. If you need some services, whether you want him to give you direction personally, or he can redirect you. Also, you have a book on Amazon.
Yes, called Mind Your Business. You can get it on Amazon. Type in Mind Your Business with that orange brain over there. Mm-hmm. That's me. Get your copy today.
Listen, thank you, Mike. And I'm definitely going to have you back. I want to end today's session with Mike's motivational moments.
All right.
I want to talk about you today. Let's talk about the most significant project you'll ever work on. It's you. It's a subject that might seem straightforward, but it's deeply complex and endlessly evolving. You are your own architect, builder, and residence all in one. In the journey of life, it's easy to focus outwardly on jobs, relationships, responsibilities, but the core of all of those external achievements and connections start with your internal foundation. You are the starting point. Your beliefs, your values, your health, your mental, emotional, and physical are the grounds on which everything else is built. Consider this: every book you read, every new skill you learn, every new habit you cultivate enriches you. Every challenge you face and overcome makes you stronger. But here's the key: none of this stops unless you decide to stop growing. There is no final version of you. You are the perpetual work in progress, continually unfolding and discovering new layers of your potential. So, take a moment today, reflect on your personal journey, celebrate your progress, learn from your setbacks, and set your sights on new horizons. Remember, the investment you make in yourself is never wasted. It pays dividends in every aspect of your life, touching everyone you meet and every space you enter. Take care of you, y'all. I'm signing off from the Black Male Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And just remember, before you go back, fade to black. Mike Searson.